What is the stupidest thing a teacher has tried to tell your child? One of my kids was reading Grapes of Wrath for a high school English class. For those unfamiliar with the book, it's about a poor American family that moves out west looking for a better life. There's also a little side story about a turtle having trouble crossing the road. The teacher was explaining how the turtle symbolizes the family and that they had to shed their old life much like a turtle sheds its shell. When informed that turtles don't do that, she was confused because the turtles in Mario come out of their shells. Me, how do you spell belly? Teach, that's not a real word, you can't use it. Me, yes it is. Teach, no it isn't. The other students seemed just as confused as me. My 7th grade science teacher condescendingly told me there was no such thing as dry ice. That my daughter was pronouncing her last name wrong. Her own name, not the teacher's name. That he's not allowed to read the Guinness Book of World Records. They literally have the entire collection of these books at the school library, but refuse to let any of the kids read them, and if they do they punish them for it. They also won't remove the books from the library. It's fucking bizarre. Learning about food webs and nutrients in 9th grade biology class. I asked the teacher a question. Me, where do mushrooms and other fungi fit in all this? What kind of vitamins or other things would I get from eating them? Teacher, because mushrooms aren't part of the food chain and feed only off dead things, they wouldn't have any nutritional value. Had a teacher try to convince me that Lenin and Stalin was the same man, and that his name was in fact Lenin Stalin. I'm not even from Russia. This convo somehow popped up in economics class. Son's 3rd grade assignment, draw your dream house. He got an F because his dream house was unrealistic. He failed another student choice of topic assignment he did on dinosaurs because dinosaurs weren't real as they weren't in the Bible. He got detention when he told her neither were air conditioners. Public school early 90s in rural Texas. When he was 11 my son's teacher told him he was lying about being colorblind and sent him to detention as there was no such thing as colorblindness. Me, I'm going to publish this essay on my FTP server so I can download it later. School librarian, you are going to do what? Me, I'm going to put this on the internet. School librarian, you can't just put stuff on the internet. A couple of years ago my daughter went to Three's preschool and the teachers were fully aware that she's in speech therapy and wasn't verbal yet. On the first day of school she got a bad mark because she wouldn't verbally tell the class what she did over the summer. WTF. That was the first in a long string of issues with her teachers that lead us to pull her out of that school before Halloween of that year. I can tell you the stupidest thing a teacher has told me. The dad. We were getting a tour of the school's community garden. The teacher is rambling on about the different veggies and stuff they grow. We are walking by these giant sunflowers. Teacher, oh, these are sunflowers for making popcorn. Me, you mean you add them to popcorn? Teacher, no. Sunflower seeds make popcorn. Me, I'm 100% sure corn kernels are used for making popcorn, hence the name popcorn. She sighed and moved on, continuing to think I'm a hulking 6'5" Neanderthal. Now we're at the herb section, and she points at the thyme and rosemary. Teacher, this is thyme and rosemary. We use these to make chocolate. Me, what? You add those to chocolate? That has to give it a funky taste. I'm surprised the kids like it. Teacher, no, we don't add it to chocolate. Chocolate is made from them. I gave up questioning her at this point and finished the tour silently contemplating how this woman can zip up her pants in the morning, let alone get a degree and teaching certificate. When we took a standardized test at the beginning of the school year, I scored a perfect score. At the end of the year we took the same test and I scored a perfect score once again. But I wasn't allowed to go to the ice cream party because my score didn't improve from the first time to second. While reading Winnie the Pooh, our teacher said the word honeycomb wasn't a real word, just something Pooh made up. The same teacher used the flash on her camera while taking pictures of the stars in the night sky. My parents always make this joke about me that my first grade teacher told them that I would have problems learning how to read because I couldn't skip. Literally, I could already read and was reading books on a daily basis after school just fine. When I was in 4th 5th grade I had a huge Tom Clancy binge going on, and I loved reading the short novels, the ones with his name on them, but written by someone else, and in 5th grade I decided to read my first actual book of his, which was approximately 500 to 600 pages. My teacher chewed me out in the middle of class for pretending to read to impress the class, and said that there was no way I could comprehend such a large book. My kindergarten teacher told my mother that I was retarded and would never learn to read. I never went back to that school. Not my kid but my niece. She was being bullied and her teacher told her to let it go and think about how the bully feels, and that it's his way of showing her he likes her. Or my favorite line, "You guys are all young and kids will be kids, just deal with it." My brother's kindergarten teacher tried to convince him that his name was Alexander, when it is actually just Alex. There was another student in his class named Alexander who preferred to be called Alex. The teacher actually drove my brother to tears when he tried to explain what his real name was. Our parents had to get involved and get the teacher to back off. Who argues with a child about what their real name is? When I was in kindergarten my mom was called in because there was something wrong with me. Turns out that the problem was that when I was asked to draw my family I drew everybody as ducks. They were all there, mom, dad, siblings, but they were ducks. The teacher insisted this was very serious and my mother asked why. They said they didn't know, but it wasn't normal. My mom was very pissed off. In 5th grade my science teacher tried to tell me that heavier objects fall faster, then proceeded to drop a paper and a pencil to prove it. I told him that air resistance was the reason the paper fell slower. Then I dropped a pencil and a paper clip. He watched them hit the ground at the same time, told me I threw the paper clip down and just dropped the pencil, and told me to sit down. He is still teaching. I'm American, but I spent 5th and 6th grade in the Netherlands, where kids start English lessons in 5th grade. In 5th grade my teacher insisted to me that the word tortoise was pronounced tortoise. No amount of insisting on my part could get through to him. He just kept telling me that maybe that's how you say it in America, but this is how it's really pronounced. I was the child. My 6th grade teacher had us research and compile 10 poems with a running theme. I chose animals. One of my poems had to do with ants, while one was about dogs, another about lions, etc. When the project was returned, I noticed that I lost 5 points for some reason. When I asked why, my teacher said, "Your theme was animals. Since ants are not animals, I took off those points." My little 11-year-old brain imploded. I had to bring an assigned note from the biology teacher stating that ants were indeed animals to get those points back. I will never forget an incident that happened to me in preschool. It's probably one of my earliest memories. We were sitting on the carpet in front of the teacher. She had just finished talking to us about squirrels. She asked us to name some places we would see a squirrel. I raised my hand at once. The other kids named trees, bushes, grass, and when she called on me, I said on the wires. Because every day, the squirrels would use the telephone wires to walk on. She told me I was wrong. Dumb bitch. I had an early lesson teaching me that teachers aren't always right. PS this was in 1985, and I should be over it by now. My daughter was in a field trip and I chaperoned. The lady was talking about Indians, Native Americans, and I was about ready to pull my hair out listening to her. During the Ice Age, like the movie, all the oceans froze. The Indians walked across the frozen ocean from Europe and migrated west. Indians used teepees in hot weather and wigwams in cold weather. Indians didn't know how to plant crops and only knew how to hunt animals and gather plants to eat. Indians hunted elephants in Florida. Indians made arrow tips from limestone because it's so strong. I know I'm missing quite a few. It was like nearly everything she said was false. Looking back I really wish I had stood up and said something. But anxiety and all. The craziest part is all the other parents and teachers kind of nodded along while I'm looking around at everyone wondering if anyone else actually was listening to the crap the lady was spewing. When he was about 5, my son's teacher decided she'd try to cure everyone in the class of their worst fears. At the time he was afraid of the dark, so said teacher sat him in the middle of the classroom with a blanket over his head to convince him there was nothing to be scared about. She wasn't at the school the next year. And very long ago in my own childhood, our head teacher explained to the class how heavier things fall faster. One little 10-year-old brainiac went home and told his parents this howler, and the head teacher was removed before my final year in primary school. Having been in her class for 2 years, suspect that was only actually part of the reason.